No mai haere mai e te whānau. Welcome to the Flight of the Nix podcast. My name's Holly. I'm here on Cubby Cubby land in Queensland. In Taupo, we have Denise Duffy. We have Danny Avis on Gadigal land in Sydney. And Erin, I believe, is back in Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland. Well, we had two games this weekend, two very, very different performances with two very, very different results. We will start with the men. Now, Denise doesn't normally watch the men, so this is going to be interesting for her to have to sit through. She does see our chats when we are watching the game, so she has a pretty good idea of how poor the game was. We played City away at Amy. Obviously, we don't play well at Amy. I'm not sure what that is. We lost 2-1. City scored in the 7th and the 83rd minute. We had one shot and it had an XG for the whole game. 0.8. It was really poor. They did not try to attack. We just, the highest pass rate, the player with the most touches or most passes in the entire game was Scott Wooten, and that's because all we did was play it along the back. So we went down early and we didn't push to actually score. We gave the ball away a lot. In fact, I think one of the most telling things that the commentator said was, it's Sheridan's turn to give it away as we turned away. Lots of stupid giveaways in our own half. 41 passes in the opposition half for the whole game, 9 passes for us in the opposition, our attacking third. In the box, they had 40 touches in our box. We had 2 touches in their box the whole game. It was appalling. It was really, really appalling. Danny, let's explain to Denise how that felt as someone who watches the men, and how do you really put across beyond what I have said to someone like Denise who doesn't follow the men as much as she loves the club?
It was dire, as you can say. Normally I'd always sort of watch the games back on highlights, but I know there's going to be no highlights of this game, so I haven't bothered watching it again. It was 90 minutes of my life, which I won't get back, and utterly wasted, because there was nothing positive from the Phoenix for the entire match that happened. We didn't particularly defend badly, but we didn't attack at all. There just was no attacking whatsoever. Now, why that was, okay, we can talk about the tactics, etc. We can talk about the loss of Rufer, which was obviously huge. And we've talked before about how we struggled to get passes through the thirds, through the middle, and Rufer's about the only one who can do that vertical pass. Well, that was very, very well demonstrated on Friday. We didn't get any ball forward at all. The only shot on goal was LBS, who finally got a bit of space in front of him and ran into the box, and then I don't know if I wouldn't say it was a shot. He carried on running. It hit his foot and then went blocked by one of the keepers. So it wasn't even a particularly good strike anyway. At least he tried something. The rest of midfield just passed it around. They played a very high press. They were obviously being told that was going to be successful against us, and it was. Our passing out was bad, as Holly said, as the commentator said, as everyone noticed. What was the most frustrating thing that I found was that when we did beat the press, and sometimes we pass around the back, we'd beat the press, we'd get up to midfield, and it's like, okay, and then we'd pass it back into the press. It was like a training program. It was like, okay, we beat the press once, let's go have another go, because we can't even think of anything to go forward. Barbarouses ran around, I don't know, he was barely in shot most of the match on the TV coverage, and it just wasn't happening. And then by the second half, we made some substitutions, brought a lot of kids, and Supik came on, Piper came on. I genuinely had no idea where they were supposed to be playing, because it just seemed to be, we'll just throw people on and see what happens, and nothing happened. It was very bad. I mean, if you haven't got that already, Denise, it was really bad. You did not miss anything by not watching it.
I was laughing because I get these text messages, and Holly's like, "This is poor. No one's even trying. Dreadful." I was like, "Okay, this is one I'm not going to watch." But I was tempted just to see how bad it could be. Tell me more. Like, was the goalkeeper at least good?
Oluwayemi did all right. He had a few shots to save, and he saved the shots he needed to. He gets a lot of stick, and people say he's not very good with his feet, but I don't really buy that. He gets the ball, we pass it along the back a lot, and he's one of the back players when we pass along the back, and he doesn't necessarily do anything particularly wrong. It's just why are we always passing it around the back? We're not actually getting anywhere. I find it really amazing that we have goal kicks, and we always take the goal kick and we pass it to the keeper and around the back. That's what we do every single time. But we don't seem to have a strategy for getting it out of the penalty area. We could get out of the penalty area, you just boot it long, right? Okay, I can understand why you don't want to do that. It's a low percentage effort, etc. We haven't got to be tall up front or in midfield to bring it down. But you'd think, okay, we would have built on these goal kicks and have a plan saying, okay, I'm going to pass it through to you, and then there'll be a midfield player who would have run here to here, and therefore we can give it to him. But we didn't. It was all we'd take the goal kick to Oluwayemi, he'd pass it right to Hughes, and then he'd be looking up going, well, there doesn't seem to be anybody there, and then suddenly they're pressing on us and we're in trouble again. That fascinated me how we didn't have an actual plan to do that. Every free kick you have a plan of where that ball's going to go. Every corner you take, you have a plan of where that ball's going to go. Goal kick is another set piece. You should have a plan of where that ball's going to go, and we just didn't seem to do it. So Oluwayemi wasn't at fault, I don't, for the goals. I wouldn't blame him for that. It was, let's say, we didn't defend particularly badly. We just didn't play very well, and eventually they scored 2 goals.
We did have Tim Payne on the field, who is he's currently got an ankle injury, and I don't believe that he could even run at near the end of the game. He was just walking around, he was hobbling around, and that's pretty much the extent of what was happening. He stayed on for, I think, almost the whole game, even though we needed to get some goals up, and we had a defender on there who couldn't even move. So that kind of just showed where we were at. We couldn't string more than 3 passes together. Nagasawa, who's one of the Visa players, I don't think he does anything at all in any of the games. I haven't really seen him contribute at all. Our other Visa, Ishige, he doesn't have any strength to stay up on the ball. If he gets knocked, he falls over and we lose the ball. I think maybe 25% of the time he might win a foul for it, but the rest of the time he just loses the ball. We try to play out from the back, and it's just not working. Other teams have figured it out with a high press, and we just aren't good enough to be doing it. We can't string these passes together to do it. And Chiefy kind of seems to be set in his ways in playing this way, and he wants to keep doing it. And I think he said that he likes the style of football and he doesn't want to change it, but it's clearly not working. And I think what makes it worse is that I just saw a rumor that Scott Wooten has been signed to a Japanese team. So if he's out the door, then we're going to be in even more of a struggle. City has an extremely depleted squad. I think they've got so many injuries that they were basically just playing a squad full of children, and we should have at least been able to put up a fight, but they just made it look so easy. It was crazy. I mean, after the game, I was watching the game in Auckland, and afterwards I was driving back up north to go back to the batch that I was staying in, and on the way I completely burst one of the tires on the back of my car, so I had to get out in the dark, in the cold, in the rain, and change it, and that was a more enjoyable experience than watching that next game.
Ouch. That's brutal. I mean, you guys, I remember last year, you guys, it was good, right? I mean, went far in the playoffs and all these sort of positive vibes. What's changed?
What's changed is that we've lost the players. We've lost good players. Okay, so Poulsen would have got us a few points, whatever. I don't think Oluwayemi is bad, but Poulsen was excellent, and so he saved his points there. Sermon, as a centre-back, was just a step above, unfortunately, either Hughes or Sheridan, so he's that much better. So when we played it at the back, and we have done this before, when we invited the pressure on, invited the press on, he was just that much more composed. And we had ways of getting, once we got out the press, we had ways of transitioning it up the pitch. We had Ben Old, who could run very, very fast. And he picked the ball up somewhere near our penalty box, and before you know it, he's across the halfway line, and their defenders are going, shit, I don't know what to do now. I've got to backpedal. I've got to do something. I've got to make a decision. That opens up more space. We had Kraev, who's an excellent footballer, technical passer. Again, if he got the ball, he could pick out someone up front. He could do something more with it. We don't have those players anymore. We don't even have a Zawada that, if we want to, we could lump it up to, and he can hold the ball up and wait for them to come up. So our defence is not as good. I don't think it's terrible. I don't think Hughes and Sheridan are terrible defenders in any way. But our midfield has lost any, I won't say positivity, it's not the right word, any technique to basically transition the ball forward to the attacking. So even when we're beating the press and defending reasonably well, it gets midfield and it just gets stuck there. We've got no way of getting it out. And Roof is about the only one person who could do it. You could have said Rojas might have been one person who might have done it as well. They're both out. With Payne not being able to run, that meant we couldn't do anything down the right. Sutton tried, to be fair to him. I think he tried to run the ball quite a few times on Friday, but they just had lots of players around him, and he wasn't able to get that ball out and find someone in space. So the difference between last year is that we just don't have the players that we had last year. We haven't replaced the right ones, if you like, and they're not as good. And until we do find someone in that midfield who can start that transition from defence to attack, it could get pretty ugly.
The bandwagon, if you were going to jump on it for the men's team, Denise, was last season. It was not this season. So, look, I mean, the women's team has had some awful years as well and some awful performances. So, look, it's, it is what it is. It's football. Now, the coach has said that he was going to stick with the style of play. I think in the post-match press conference, or at some stage he said to the press that he is going to go back to the drawing board. I hope that means potentially a change in the style of play, because he's tried his best to recruit players that are going to be suitable, but we've lost too many. So hopefully we get some changes. I don't know whether we're going to have Roos back anytime soon. He has glandular fever, otherwise known as mono. And that's also, unfortunately, contagious. So maybe they all have mono. You know what? Actually, that would be fine. I'd be happy with that. If you could say to me they all have mono, I would say that was actually a really good performance, because having mono is awful, right? Glandular fever is just awful. So maybe that's it.
But question. What
the only mono they had was the mono shot on target.
Oh, ouch. Oh, you guys are such super fans. It's cute.
I saw a fair few people sort of saying it's one of the worst performances the Phoenix have ever put out, and I don't buy into that. I think there's a lot of recency bias there. We were bad, and we were certainly bad going forward, but we're not a terrible team necessarily. We have, we have some good players. The defenders are young players, but they're not bad defenders. We've got some reasonably exciting attackers potentially coming through. Barbarousse is obviously top scorer in the league. That's not a bad thing to have. Brooke Smith looks like it might be exciting. We've got Gabby Rodriguez to come on. So it's not the end of the season. It's not the end of the world. But, we're now looking to make the finals rather than make the top two, which I think we were sort of hoping that would be our, ambition when we first started the season.
How would you describe their style of play?
It's a play out from the back. Yeah, and it worked really well last year. We had a keeper that was absolutely brilliant with his feet. Everybody in the back line was brilliant with their feet. We'd play out the back, sometimes heart and mouth kind of playing at the back, watching. And then they would press, which would make a gap in the midfield, and then we'd play the ball to our midfield. And then we had quite a few midfielders that were able to receive the ball, either dribble or pick a good pass. And we had different options for goal scorers. We had a good spread of goal scorers, and that's just not the team that we have at the moment. So I really hope there are some changes, because I don't think that we can keep going like this. Our next game is against Adelaide. Kids Go Free. It's at Sky Stadium. I know the football's been a bit dire lately, but please do show up and give your support to the men. Adelaide only just lost their first game, I think, this round, so they've been flying high. We could pick up with a fantastic performance after having had, maybe Chiefy gives them a kick in the pants and they get things going. But I'm not super hopeful. So any other thoughts about what you're expecting from that game, Danny or Erin?
I'd love to be hopeful. I'm not super hopeful, because it looks like we're still going to be missing the players that we're going to be missing. I guess what I'm hoping for is that we can just put a few more attacks together. We can maybe use the young players that we've got. I'd like to see a bit more of Brooke Smith with the ball at his feet with a bit of grass ahead of him. So really, I'm looking at performances now and results. Okay, be nice to get a point or 3 points. Not particularly hopeful on that, but I'd just like to see some better performances put together and just a bit more positivity and attempt to go forward. Because, again, so many of our players on Friday would just receive the ball and then make the easy pass back. And Chief has talked a lot about the bravery of picking a forward pass and putting the ball forward, and nobody seems to be doing that apart from Rufer when he was there, and that's really disappointing. And if I was Chiefy, I'd be pretty disappointed as well, especially when we've got, you got Nagasawa and Ishiga. They're supposed to be technically good players. I would like to think they could pick a forward pass, and if that pass doesn't come off, then fair enough. At least we tried it. At least we tried to get forward. So, yeah, just a bit more positivity would be nice.
Unfortunately, Sky Stadium's not quite the fortress it was for us last year, so home field advantage might not really come into play as much here, except for probably is going to be a super windy day, and we might be more used to the conditions than they will be, and I just want to see a good game of football. I just want to not get to the end of the game and feel like they didn't kind of do all they can to get the points. It felt a bit like that last game. So I just want to see them, working hard and trying to do something new, creative, interesting, fun, and just kind of look like they're enjoying playing football as well.
Well, we'll see. Let's have a giant deep breath of very fresh air. The women played at Porirua Park. They played Perth Glory. Not exactly a high-flying opponent, however, a confident 2-0 win that, for me, never really felt in doubt. We have a early second-half goal from Jale, which was actually an assist from Villau, because Vilau's played this long ball. Defenders misread it. It's bounced. Jale just takes it, and almost a mirror image goal of what she scored against Sydney FC. Fergie with her second goal of the season in the 69th minute. That was an assist from Lara Wall, who was our player of the match. Pinpoint cross. Fergie's not big. She's not big, but she manages to just sort of come from the side of the defender and then leap at the right time to get a nice header to the far post. It was really quite good. Wonderful play, attacking play. We had a shot on target in like the third or fourth minute. Just absolutely a breath of fresh air. I think the funnest thing about this entire match, sort of off the park, was the incident that poor Gabby Holler of the Perth Glory team had. Erin, tell us about that.
Well, she popped up on my For You page on TikTok, and I saw the Perth Glory logo on the shirt. I was like, interesting, what's happening here? And so, yeah, I saw a video that she got pinged bringing an apple into New Zealand and fined $400 for that, which I thought was quite amusing. And I was like, I thought I'll share that with the Knicks community because I'll get a good laugh out of it. And it kind of went a bit viral, got to some of the news agencies, and yeah, poor Gabby Holler was greeted with a bunch of apples and apple chants at the stadium, which is good spirits. And unfortunately, she also got a big knock to the face into the game as well, so she came off with an injury. So it hasn't been a really great trip for her, and I don't know if she'll be keen to ever come back here, but it's been fun. Well,
that was really funny. I mean, the Yellow Fever brought apples to the park, and it's I had no idea that you sort of elevated that story, Aaron, to the rest of the Knicks fans, because it was really used against her in a joyful kind of way. I mean, that's the best part about being a fan is sort of the teasing and the fun and the engagement with the current events, let's call it. Yeah, but she had a rough game. I mean, she would have been the leader of that team. And she went out, I don't know, around the 66, somewhere in the 60s, I think. And Tanika Lala came in, and I love Tanika Lala. I think she's cool and she's emerging. However, she's not Gabby Holler right now. And I just felt like the Knicks really dominated that whole game. I mean, it just didn't feel like Perth was ever in it. They really felt like everything about going all the way through this distance derby. They felt like the short end of the stick on that, and they were, from apples to maybe a broken nose or something. They had a tough time.
Well, I think you knew with the changes that Paul Temple made to the starting lineup that we were probably going to come in quite attacking. Tanaka and McMeekin came in for Kelly and Brasendale, and so we know that we've got some wide players there. We're going to be playing it wide, and we're going to look for those crosses. And I think we pretty much dominated that whole game, as you said. I think Perth had one shot on target, which I can't even remember the shot, but I think that they didn't really have many chances, and Perth they've been struck with a lot of injuries. Kelly Brown, their top goal scorer, she's out with injury, and then you had Gabby Holler, who I think is their second top goal scorer. She went out early with that injury as well, and so I just don't know where Perth go from here. If they have anyone else in their squad who's able to step up and kind of get some goals for them and help them, start climbing the ladder again, because unfortunately for them, they didn't really have too much of a chance in here. They did have too much of a chance in this game. But, lots of positives coming from the Knicks here. It's good to see Grace Jale shooting a bit more. I think, she has been a bit quiet in the start of the season, but I think, as Temple said, she's been shooting a lot more and shooting a lot more in training, and it seems to be paying off as well. As I like to say, that when the scores are locked, then we have a bit of a get out of Jale free card. And that's her long shot there going into the bottom corner. Wall played well. She's been playing well, I think, the whole season. She's got a really, really good cross on her, and I think that she's a massive threat. And so it's very good to have her. And so I think, for me, Wall and Jale were two of the standout players for that game. The one worry I did have was kind of the early yellow cards that we were getting. Mac Barry and Tiana Jaber got them quite early in the first half, and then McMeekin picked one up as well, which, could have allowed them back in the game quite easily. You know that they're going to be a bit more careful now coming into tackles or trying to win the ball, and so they were kind of treading on eggshells after those yellow cards, and they could have been exploited quite easily if Perth took advantage of it, but they didn't. So I've been pretty happy with how we've been playing and with all the opponents that we've had. So we've got a lot of confidence in this team, and it's good to see us, in the top six and playing well at this stage of the season, because I think that going forward, I think we've got the momentum to definitely make finals or even top four this.
Yeah, an apple a day did not keep Jolly away. I'm stealing Dean's on that one. It was really good as a Knicks fan, and probably as for Grace herself, that she scored on her team that released her. I assume released her. She was. They had high hopes with her at Perth, and I was really happy when she decided to come home to the Knicks, and she's been good this season. She's been good. A lot of people are like, I'm like, no, she's been really good this season, and has filled in some interesting spots on the field, allowing her to take those bangers. Yeah. And Dumont is a good keeper, right? She's a national, her first name's Casey, right? Casey Dumont. She's a national team quality keeper. So it's not like, these shots that we had were against just someone who wasn't, top notch. She's good. So they were very good shots.
I think we said last week that the women's game was the exact opposite of the men's game in terms of performance and result. And I think it was all the same this week. The men lost 2-0, but it felt a lot worse. And the women won 2-0, but it felt a lot better than 2-0. We were very dominant. It was the most complete attacking performance we've had this season. I think, Perth. Yet the one shot, I think, on goal was a one-on-one against Villau, sort of in the last 10 minutes or so, and Villau saved it, and then they hit the bar with a follow-up. But that really was a one-off. They really didn't create much from that. I thought, everyone played really well. And yeah, Denise, I'm one of the ones that said I didn't think Jale's been very good this season at all. But this game, she was. She created. She took the shot when she needed to. And like the others, she really contributed. I thought Tanaka, I think she had 3 shots on target in the first half alone. We just looked like we were just streaming through them a lot of the time and passing it through. And then when you think maybe things might sort of calm down a bit, then we're able to bring out Emma Main and Mania Elliott, and they just give a lot of energy and, could be starters anyway, especially Emma Main, could easily be a starter. So it just looked really good. Defensively, I didn't really pay much attention to them because they just took care of it. They just took care of business. So it was all about looking at the forwards and going forward, and that was, again, after the men's game, that was a really refreshing.
Yeah, I wanted some of those Tanaka shots to go in. She's like, no, she missed again. Come on. But she's fun to watch this season, for sure. Holly, what do you think?
There are 3 players across the club who I'd like to explain to them. That's Tanaka with this game, I think Main with this game, Shige from the men, that they've done these bizarre diving headers for balls that have been like a foot and a half off the ground and the cross. Do they know that they can volley the ball with their feet? I don't know. Maybe they don't. Maybe somebody needs to tell them that you can actually kick the ball with your foot if it's in the air. You do not have to dive to the point that like you are almost on the ground to try and head the ball. It was very strange look, it's hard to make that decision, especially when the ball is dipping. And then once you commit to using your head, you're stuck to do it. It's too hard to flip that around. But I had noticed that over however many games that people keep doing that. But yeah, what a great game. Our next game, we actually have 2 before we'll record. Our next game is against Western Sydney Wanderers at Wanderers Football Park in Rooty Hill. The little corner of yellow will be there. Please do join us. That's Thursday at 7 p.m. AEDT, New Zealand time. That'll be 9 p.m, presumably on Sky Sport. Wanderers will be confident coming into a 4-4 draw with victory, of all people, including 2 goals in stoppage time to draw. So that at stoppage time, they were 4-2 down. They scored 2 goals. So they will actually be quite confident despite their low ladder position. I still think we can beat them. And I will mention that our other game is Sunday, and that will be Adelaide away. Adelaide have, I think, the best keeper in the league, and we did beat them last time, but it will be interesting to see how we go this time. How are we feeling coming up? Danny, you'll be there?
Yep, I'll be there on Thursday. And yeah, it's interesting. Wanderers, you would have thought basically at the start of the season, this could be an easy, well, not an easy 3 points, but a match that we should be looking at to get 3 points. But they seem to have put a couple of performances together in the last couple of games, if not a full 90 minutes, and they're playing pretty well for a while. And yeah, those 2 late equalisers, 2 last goals they scored the other day, were decent goals. They played well against Victory, and I thought they probably deserved to get the draw. So they're capable. Absolutely, we'll have to be on our best to get anything against them. But we've seen that we can compete against good teams, and we can dominate against poorer teams. So I think if we start off with a lot of energy, we start off well. If we get an early goal, I think then we've got the defence that we could hold them out and hold on to a lead. I do want to mention, which I was going to in talking about the match, but Laura Wall has just been superb this season, and I think that was her best match that she played just recently. But she's come out of a non-professional environment and stepped in and just looks very assured, and possibly is getting better. I'd really like to see how far she can go, but certainly her defending and her getting of the wing and her crossing have been excellent, and I think they're getting better. So I'm really sort of hopeful we can see more of her this season and contribute to some more goals as well.
Go South Island. She's one of the she's out of Dunedin from what I remember, and played for Canterbury. Good for her. Yeah, she's she was player of the match for us, and wow, she is really a breath of fresh air this season. I'm really stoked for her, and I wonder where, her career is going to keep going. Hey, what I do want to say though, we have a match Thursday, and then do we have a match on Sunday as well? This is kind of like a real rough week.
Yeah, I think this time of the season, it's like the summer of football or something, and there's a lot of games on in a short period of time, and all the teams kind of feel this. Western Sydney played 10 p.m. on Sunday to beat the Melbourne Heat, so they've had a short turnaround between that game and this game coming up on Thursday, and then there's a lot of games happening. Some teams have played more than others in the dub at the moment, so very strange as to what's happening in the league. But it's kind of like this every season. They have just over the this time of the year just play a lot all at once, and it just kind of tests your team and how well they travel, how well they recover, your squad rotation, and it'll be interesting to see how we manage that. We'll be traveling to Australia, and then I assuming we'll be staying in Australia to get to Adelaide away, and hopefully hopefully our away form stays as it has been and doesn't revert back to what it used to be. But I think we did quite well against Western Sydney. I mean, I think there's definitely something in the Sydney waters at the moment because they're a bit. Both the Sydneys are at the bottom of the table, and so I think as long as we don't drink the tap water while we're there, hopefully we can get a good result against them. We're playing for the Sister City Cup, I believe, against Western Sydney, and we have a pretty good track record against them. And so I'm feeling pretty confident that we can get a win against them, even though they've kind of had a bit of a form change recently.
Well, I think some other teams have been drinking the Wellington water, and it hasn't been doing them very, very well either. I mean, we've had 3 wins at home. I mean, how do you feel about that? I know I feel great about that. I really think, the change of venue and just everything about home playing is on the Knicks side right now.
Last season we moved stadiums and we started to have it as our own little fortress there. We were getting really, really good results.
All right. Well, hopefully the home form does continue after our 2 games away. Let's have our section talking point. Today's talking point is bangers. My God, have we had some great goals across both leagues from all the teams thus far in the season. And I mean, every league has great goals, but I also just sort of love how chaotic some of our great goals can be. I want to mention 2 bangers for myself, so I might be stealing favourite bangers from somebody else, but I'm talking, so I'm going to go first. Momo Hiyashi. Brisbane Roar against Western United, a free kick goal that swerves one way and then the other way. I think one of the reasons that this goal got so much attention is that the camera angle was perfect to see the swerve one way and then back the other way. Absolutely, I think Momo Hiyashi is going to be, when they do goal of the season, each entry will just be Momo Hiyashi. Absolutely incredible. More recent was Lawton versus Western United. Oh no, he was Western United versus Perth rather. Lawton versus Perth, a bicycle kick in the last minute of the game to win the game. His first goal, in all the excitement, he's ripped his shirt off and then actually got his second yellow card and got sent off after the goal. But absolutely incredible. Perth were 2-1 up. And then, Western with 2 goals in stoppage time to steal. Perth have been having a shocking season in the men's league. That was incredible. Who else wants to talk about some of their favourite bangers? Erin.
Yeah, I was just thinking back to when Pyle from MacArthur did his bicycle kick. Must have been week 3 or so, and he did that, and everyone's like, "Wow, this must be goal of the season." But then the next week, it's the new goal of the season, and it's just the beauty of the A-League. It's the best league in the world. These goals are just so common, like these incredible goals. I feel like you don't, you won't score a tap in this league. You'll just score banger after banger. It's It's fantastic. It's so good to see. I feel like next week we're going to have another goal of the year contender, and I'm ready for it.
So what I was going to say, Holly, is that when you messaged, okay, let's talk about the bangers and the screamers, it just reminded me of an article in a paper which I read very recently, just like a month or so ago in the Guardian Football, about how the propensity of screamers or bangers, basic goals from outside the penalty area, has gone down in the Premier League over the years. And I hate using data just from the Premier League because I hate the Premier League. But last season, apparently 11.5% of goals were scored from outside the penalty area, and that's down from about 20% in about 2006, 20 years ago. And there's a lot of reasons why that might be, or they posit there's a lot of reasons why that may be. One is tactical, as in tactics have become more passing. Players become better, so they're passing around, so they're passing into the area. Players are more aware of the data in that shots from outside the area are low percentage, more likely to do it. And pitches are getting better around the world, or at top level sport around the world. So they can pass into the area and pass around players and be a bit more precise and score from inside the area instead. So basically what that says is the more bangers we have, the more screamers we have in the A-League, it just shows how poor the league is. So really we should be looking at less screamers, more goals in the area, if we want to say the A-League is a good league.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're legit with the stats there, but I think bangers do like open up a defense, right? Like if you play for the high percentage all the time, then things get compressed and whatever, and then all you need is Alyssa Winham, to kind of dribble through it, make a fake, do a turn, and boom, bang. Like she's my favorite banger when she scores them. Grace Jolly's goal, great banger this past game, and I think it does like continue to open. Like when people look at that on tape, they'll be like, on tape, on replay, they'll say, "Oh, we got to go out and defend her in that spot," and then that can open up like a beautiful pass in the box. So bangers are fun. People should take them. And, they say to test the goalie. Well, you never know when there's a deflection or just something weird happens, right? So I love bangers.
Without the two bangers against Jets, we lost that game. Like literally we scored two bangers and that was it. So it's hard to say. I mean, because for me, I think, and these things aren't necessarily mutually exclusive, but there's sort of the quality in these really strict, dry terms. And then there's the entertainment value, which is quite subjective. But like, I think, anyone can say, well, okay, my team lost, but that was an entertaining game. I'd rather have an entertaining league than a boring league. And it's the same with people talking about like getting rid of the salary cap. I'd rather have an even league than a league dominated by a handful of clubs. I think that's what keeps it exciting, and that's what draws people into the game. But I don't think that what Danny was saying is that bangers are a show of bad quality. I think usually we think of goals outside of the box immediately as being bangers, right? Because they have to be such a good shot. But it is an interesting thought about whether we want entertainment or quality, and how much of an overlap that has.
I mean, Chiefy's whole game plan last season, this season, is to basically restrict other teams from getting high quality or high percentage goals, which shots basically, or chances on goal, which basically says, if you want to shoot from outside the box, we're going to let you, because we don't care, because the percentage is so low. Shoot as much as you like. We've got a decent goalkeeper and we've got a decent defence. I'll either block it or the goalkeeper will save it. And he was very successful with that last year. Maybe less so this year, as we've discussed. But, look, whether those are the stats or not, or whether they're true or not, yeah, look, I'm with you. Obviously, we all love to see a shot from outside the box that goes in. And I do wish some of our players would try that a bit more often. I think Ishiga, in the men's team, he can obviously hit it. I'd like him to take a shot a bit more often. I'd probably like Roofer to take a shot a little less often, possibly. But there are players there who can do it and possibly would do it a bit more often, and that would maybe increase our chances in the men's team. And in the women's team, look, Jale obviously knows now she can score from pretty much anywhere in a half, so she's probably going to keep on doing that. We know Emma Main's got a shot on her as well, as is Mania Elliott. Lisa Winham, I'd love to, but she just doesn't seem to have a very strong shot. But maybe she should give it a try. Maybe a bit more practice, and because she can get herself into those positions, and maybe she can, score one for us.
I think with the introduction of the XG stat, which seems like it's relatively new and also sometimes just pulled out of nowhere, but I think it's kind of been interesting to see how you can kind of rank the quality of the shot based on its XG. So I think it'd be interesting to see how the XG of the A-League compares to the XG of maybe the Premier League, and saying if someone shot from here, it's more likely to be a goal in this league versus another league. Maybe that's why they're not taking those shots as often. But I think it'd been interesting to kind of compare that kind of stat with across the leagues to see maybe more likely to get a banger in the A-League than in another league. And it's it's facts, it's a number, it's maths, so it must be right.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. As always, feel free to let us know whether you agree, whether you disagree. Your thoughts, we're always keen to hear. Give us a like, subscribe if you've not already subscribed, and we will see you next time. Bye.